Hi, my name is Evan Williamson. I did quite a sneaky thing with this week 14 project is that I saw the explanation video that you sent us with the previous project on there, just sort of as a guide, and I really liked how the lady had put together that movie list, except in my house we don't watch a lot of movies, and so the list wouldn't have made much sense, but I tend to think that we're quite good readers. We read a lot, and so I thought that something like that would serve us really well if we were to put it together with a book list. So I went onto the Goodreads website and I had a look at what their suggestion is of 100 books to read before you die. And what I've done is I've used that list and put data together. Now, in total, putting the data, getting that together took about nine and a half hours. It was quite grueling work fitting it all in and getting it all together. And then I spent about another 2 hours putting together the dashboard and charts, maybe a little bit longer. So in total, I spent just under 12 hours putting this together. So you can see I've got a title list, the Goodreads ranking from 1 through to 100. I got the title of all the books, as you can see, running down till 100, which is what we have down here. The Story of My Life by Helen Keller ends it off. I then separated it and put the author, so you know exactly who has written that book. And then I put in the year of publication of the original publication. What I had tried to do as well is get number of pages of the original publication. Now, in some cases, they don't have that number listed anywhere, and so I took that of the Goodreads sell of the book that they are wanting to sell, or how many pages were listed on them. So, as you can see, we got title, author, year of publication, number of pages. I did put a little disclaimer in there where possible. The original edition page count was used. I separated between fiction and non-fiction, and surprisingly, there are very few non-fiction books on the list. What I then did was I took the Goodreads rating, I took the Google users rating, and the audience. So those who have bought the book and read it and wherever they are, and they've put their rating in as well, so that you can see a good comparison. So number one, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Published in 1960 originally, 281 pages of fiction, 86 on Goodreads, 83 on Google users, but a very low 78 on audience rating for those who have read it. What I did then as well is I averaged out the ratings to give a total of 82% rating to Kill a Mockingbird. What I did then was I started looking for the prices of the books. However, the difficulty that I found with this was that it has different prices built in to different stores, to different websites, to different countries. The prices don't really match up. If I took a pound to euro to dollar value to rand value, it didn't match up. So instead of doing that, what I did is I used a function through column M, which was a random number between 50 and 250. And so I made all the books cost between 50 and $250. And I did the rand between function all the way down, and then copy and pasted that so that the formula stayed intact. And that was the price that I then allocated on the book. So I haven't used the price in my dashboard explanation simply because they are not real prices. What I did though was I used that column then to include my pathway ID number. So what I did, and I was quite proud of this because it took me a while to get the formula to work correctly, but I used an if function as well as a replace, so an embedded replace function. So if it is a non-fiction book, then it will be replaced with the last three digits of my pathway ID, which is 901. And I made sure to keep it as a value, as you can see up here, the if statement with the embedded value replace function right there. And I made sure to cut out the right few number. So I've used an additional function there. Otherwise, it stays the standard number, which is the dollar price from the random between function. I then, just for interest's sake, not really too much as far as information goes, I wanted to find out how many of them I had read versus how many my wife had read, and she's obviously the far better reader, and I haven't read very many on this list apparently. I've only got 20, so 20% of the books I've read, and my wife has got closer to 40, so she's read 39, almost double what I've read. And that was just a little nice to know from my side, not really used. What I did use was average rating. So what I wanted to know was Goodreads, do they usually have higher ratings than Google users, than audience ratings? Who's rating higher? And I got to see, obviously, Google users are rating a little bit higher, but generally around the same spec, in the 80% mark of these books, between 83 and 85. And then the fiction versus non-fiction list, like I did discuss in the beginning, very few non-fiction, only 5 books out of the 95. So this was the information that I put together and I gathered to understand the list that Goodreads had put out, just to be able to get this list going for my family. This is something that we will use and read. I created a dashboard which uses a drop-down list, a nice drop-down list of all the stores, all the books that we have. Um, so we choose Anna Karenina, and you're able to see it picks up the author, the year of publication, number of pages, fiction or non-fiction, and the Goodreads rating, Google user rating, audience rating, as well as the average rating, which you can then see. What I did have trouble with here, and I want to note it because it also took me a little bit to try and fix it, was that, take for example, Hamlet. Hamlet does not have a Goodreads rating. Now the problem was when I was pulling it up through the VLOOKUP, which I've set as far as my lookup function goes, it was coming up at a 0%. So when looking at Goodreads, it was saying they got a 0% rating, which aesthetically I did not like, and so I went and included an if statement within it. So I have an if statement with an embedded VLOOKUP, and if it comes up as if the lookup is equal to 0%, then I would have a simple dash, whereas if it did not, it would continue just with the normal lookup, which worked out really well for me as well. So you can see that there. What I included was a histogram. Just I wanted to demonstrate which era produced the most amount of books, or published the most amount of books that were on this list that had high ratings. And as you can see here, it includes, it's just a simple histogram that you can see between 1926 and 1999 we have over 50% of the books, over 50 of these books are published during that time. So obviously that was the golden era for writing these great books. You can see it jumps down all the way to 1488 to 1561. As I've grouped them, you can see where all the books come from. But mainly between 1926 and sort of 2000, we can see the most amount of books being published that are included on this list. Just to demonstrate, I included the fiction versus non-fiction, so you can see a nice little pie chart or pie graph that shows you only 5% versus the 95%, so very little non-fiction. Then what I did to try and see where we're at was I made a pivot table of all the information and a pivot chart that I included here, as well as selective slices that we have to be able to see what we have to present, right? And I've put their rating from 0% up to 100%. The publication here, which is down here at the bottom, and I've grouped them as well within the 50 to 100 year scope. So these are 100 year scopes. So 1400 to 1499, 1500 $200 to $15.99, and so on and so forth, to be able to see where they're at. And just to try and help you, I've got the little legend here at the bottom that helps you understand the percentage rating and where we're at, right? So the 95 is a 95 to 100% rating we've got up here, and you can see the books that are rated the best are also kept in 1990 to 1999, and so that's the little golden era for writing and for publishing books. If we select that, you'll be able to see how it breaks it up, and we're able to select a number of pages. My other question that I had was, did the page count affect the rating at all? And the answer is no. The rating sort of stays similar as you go throughout different pages. You have books that are over 1,000 pages, like Lord of the Rings and those sorts of things when they accumulated, and that did not affect the rating at all. But I wanted to have that option to be able to select and see where that lies. And so this is the functionality of the graph that I have with the double slices that we have selected on the side. And what I've done is I've hidden that data. I didn't want to include that data, but as I unhide for you to see my sheet 2, I've just got the normal pivot table as well as the pivot graph that we have there on the side. So that is my week 14 assignment. I really enjoyed doing this. I hope you enjoyed and find it as easy to use as what I do. Thanks.